be kept, so most of the time they're kept in environments that don't keep them safe from any like natural conditions. So like in a lot of times, so, like in Iowa and shit like that, where it gets fucking cold at night and in the winter, it's like snowy as hell and shit. And so like they're stuck in these wire cages, which cause them a lot of bodily harm. Like, you know, they can lose legs and stuff from getting caught in them, and then they don't give them proper health care or anything like that. So they leave them sick.
Puppies are only given between all the puppies and their mother, from my understanding. They only have 6 inches bigger than the dog itself for all the puppies and their moms. They don't get water, they barely get any food, they're not loved on or pet, they have no socialization with other puppies or other people. So from what I understand, the puppies are very sad, they can turn violent more easily with no socialization or anything like that.
They breed the females every heat cycle, starting with their first one, which is not correct. It should be started their second heat cycle and only once a year, not twice. So then they breed them to the max, and then they most of the time will just kill them once they're done, which is only after a couple years because they've exhausted them. Once they can stop making puppies, they're like, hey, well, you're no money to me. So it doesn't matter anymore because the puppy mill industry is based just off money and profit, purely not off anything based on the animals.
On July 17, 2008, agents from the Pennsylvania SPCA executed a search warrant at Limestone Kennel, a state-licensed dog breeding kennel deep in rural Chester County.
The day we arrived with the warrant, it was hot. It was humid. I'd say it was definitely into the 90s. And there's just chaos, a lot of people, a lot of dogs, just a very tense atmosphere to work in.
The first step was to deal with the kennel owner, Farmer John Blank.
When he saw us come on the property, he was extremely upset. And I think at that point he knew that he was in trouble.
Blank had nearly 90 dogs confined in squalid cages to breed.
A lot of the dogs, the floors were wire, where a lot of the animals, their paws were going through the floor. A lot of the animals were sick. Some were actually open, had real open wounds, and were literally bleeding through the wire floor and onto the floor. It was a mess. The kennel was really a mess.
What the PSPCA had found was a puppy mill.
It really is a supply and demand issue. You know, too often people think, well, this is just me and I'll just get this one puppy, or they think they're rescuing a puppy from a pet store. And the reality is this is a business, and you're not rescuing that puppy. You're simply opening up a cage for another puppy to be ordered up, because as soon as that cage is empty, there's another puppy coming.
It's like this really hard cycle that if you stop buying from Barkworks, like you're gonna then they're not gonna get profit, but then there are all these animals that don't have homes, and that's the really difficult part about this. But it's like you just have to educate everyone on things like this, but people don't want to look at it. Like when you turn on the AS, like you're watching TV and ASPCA commercial comes on, you're like, God damn it, Sarah McLachlan, and you like turn off the TV, you change the channel, you're like, why the fuck are you making me cry, right? But it's like you have to watch it because that's the whole point. But even then, like, they're just talking about abuse. They're not even talking about, like, puppy mills and stuff like that. And, like, nobody thinks, like, oh, like, it's a farm. Farms are happy, right? Like, obviously, cows love farms, so why wouldn't dogs love farms? But, like, it's wrong, and it's such something you can't stop because you just want all of them to have a home.
I got it from the puppy store, but I had to return it because it was digging holes under my fence and it kept trying to escape, and we had 5 buddies at the time and it just didn't get along with them.
puppies are cute, the stores seem warm and friendly, but an undercover investigation by the Humane Society of the United States revealed that behind that friendly facade is a story that pet store owners don't want you to see. They promise their puppies only come from so-called private breeders, some even hand-picked by the president of the company. But our investigators found that the puppies sold in these pet stores were not coming from the clean, comfortable places they were promised. Instead, they were coming from places like these. Puppy mills, large-scale breeding facilities where dogs are kept in small wire cages and bred continuously just to produce puppies to be sold in pet stores like these. In a 6-month period, we tracked more than 2,000 puppies sold to dozens of Chicago area pet stores, many coming from some of the most notorious puppy mills in the country.
So my name is Mary Pat Davis, and I'm the president and founder of All for Love Animal Rescue. We're a nonprofit 501c3 animal rescue organization that we founded in 2012. I started rescuing in 2009. Sometimes once a dog was available, if they were available for 5 days and not adopted, they'd be put down. So we were losing a lot of dogs. A lot of dogs were killed. Now, it's not by time, it is by more by behavioral or sick. They have play groups that they've started. The new director of the Calvary Shelter, Tara Diller, has been amazing, and she's helped to spearhead all sorts of new programs, and they have people who take the dogs out into play groups, and so they stay more emotionally healthy, you know, and they get socialized and they get exercise. But again, there's so many that they can't rotate every single day. Animals nationwide are euthanized every year, 5 million across the country. We even have too many little chihuahuas in the California shelters. Like they do what they call transports to places like Oregon and Washington where they don't have too many little dogs, and they find them safe havens.
We estimate that there are about 10,000 licensed and unlicensed puppy mills in the United States, mostly concentrated in the Midwest. Those mills produce roughly 2 million puppies every year. Meanwhile, 2 to 4 million animals are killed in U.S. shelters every year. These are not defective, unadoptable animals, but a surplus caused by the fact that there are simply not enough people stepping up to adopt them. It makes little sense to continue manufacturing dogs when so many are being killed for lack of space.
Starting August will be my 2 years in the shelter, so I've learned a lot of things, like the fact that most dogs that come in there are, most of the time they're like purebreds, because someone's like, oh my god, my dog's now 5, that's old, even though like 8 is like considered geriatric for animals. So anyway, most of the times you can get a purebred dog at the shelter and the cost will be absolutely nothing if that's what you're absolutely worried about, but it shouldn't be, because we're going to be looking at purebred dogs who be upwards of 100 regardless.
Job basically, and I spend every other moment doing dog rescue work. I don't get paid anything. This is a non-profit. It's labor of love.
Volunteers help shred over 67,000 pounds of shredded paper to use in the animals' kennels.
Volunteers stuff over 70,000 thank you letters to our supporters.
"281 volunteers gave 2,265 hours to help care for the dogs from a Pine River case."
Volunteers paw filed 239 rabbits to help match them with the perfect family.
Volunteers sterilized 8,800 surgical packs for spay-neuter surgeries.
Volunteers fed over 10,000 bottles to kittens through our Bottle Baby program, giving them a second chance.
Volunteers walk dogs over 22,000 miles. That's like walking to Anchorage, Alaska and back 3 times.
Wildlife transport volunteers transported over 1,800 wild animals last year. "462 volunteers gave 2,342 hours to represent AHS at special events.
A lot of ways that people can help become part of the no-kill shelter movement, and you can get involved with your local shelter and volunteer. There's a lot of ways to volunteer too. You don't even have to go to the shelter. You can help at adoption events. You can help walk dogs. You can help groom dogs. You can help with fundraisers, play groups. There's all sorts of ways to help the shelter, and then there's lots of rescue groups like ourselves.
You look as strong as you did before.